Hello and welcome to another tutorial on using 3D sculpting to learn anatomy. And so now we're going to start building the ossicles, and to start with we'll start with the malleus, the first of the three bones in the middle ear. So this is the shape we want to make. So we're going to make it with some primitives today. So I'll hide that specimen and then we'll start off just with a, so they're very useful to know. Now we'll squash it in the anterior posterior plane, and so we've already squashed it in the front to back, and now we're doing from left to right, as it were. So that you want it sort of to be a bit sort of like an egg shape, like this. So this will form the head of the malleus. And yeah, that's about right. So now we'll add in a cylinder, which again we'll have to sort of stretch up a little bit because they're quite small. I'll just flip it over, shall I? So this will make the neck, which we'll put in at an angle, because as you know, the lateral process and stuff comes off at the side. So we'll put the cylinder in at an angle like this and stretch it a little bit so that it actually stretches in that direction. Now we're going to add in another cylinder, or as I'm doing here, it's just duplicating them. Now if you change the orientation of it, we can stretch it up some more, and that'll give us a good view, or a good start with the lateral process. So the lateral process sticks out like this, and so we can put that out there, and maybe we'll just duplicate it again, and this time angle it downwards again, but backwards, so it'll make the handle. And if we move it forwards a bit, because you've got that little prominence of the lateral at the tip of the lateral process, and then we can stretch the handle downwards, and we'll actually leave that as the bit of the lateral process, but then use, we might try a cylinder, or else we might try a cone to make up the rest of the handle of the malleus. We'll try the, I think we'll try the cylinder first. So let's grab a cylinder and see what we can do with it. So we'll enlarge it, and then we need to stretch it up quite a bit. But if, I'm not sure, because actually the handle is much more sort of conical. Well, it's kind of like, it's wider at the top and narrower at the bottom. So if this doesn't look, it doesn't quite, especially trying to manipulate it, doesn't look quite right. So we might just undo all of that and then just get a cone, and let's try it with a cone and see if we can get that to fit in a little bit better. So we'll enlarge the cone a bit, and then we just need to really just elongate it quite a bit. So we'll stretch it up quite a lot before we rotate it. So, and then now we turn it, yeah, that probably will sit much nicer, and that'll probably fit all the other bits quite well. All right, and then we can use, I don't know if the cylinder is going to work at the bottom, but where the umbo is, I'll just rotate it and squash it, because it's actually a flat area there at the bottom, where it incorporates into the eardrum. And so that has to be that probably will go all right, actually. Squashing that down, that'll probably make the umbo, or the central part of the eardrum, reasonably well. All right. And then we'll just increase the curvature of that a little bit by adding another bit in. Because we've got nothing else really in this model, they're very just these few primitives, so we can afford to just use lots of them if we want, because the polygons will be pretty low. So that just increases the angle quite a bit, and then maybe a little bit. We'll see what else we can do. All right, so we'll voxel merge all of them, so we end up with one bit, and that looks pretty good. So now the important thing is to sculpt it all. So you've got the shape, basic shape of the Malleus pretty well. So now we'll use the inflate tool to sort of fill in the gaps. Use that with the dynamic topology on, which is basically repairing the mesh as we go along. And that, so this is quite a useful tool to use. You'll be a little bit careful, especially with dynamic topology on, because it can be quite aggressive. But it's not a destructive tool. It just puts down, basically just increases the amount of clay you have, as it were. And so we can fill in all the gaps with this, get in all the sort of nooks and crannies, and fill those bits in. Which obviously, it doesn't look great because I'm still not very practiced at it, but anyway, we're sort of getting there. So we carry on just filling in all the bits, smoothing it all over, so that, and also perhaps build up the handle as well quite a bit, because I think it's a bit thin at the bottom particularly, so I might just, after I've done this sort of the neck area, I might run that, the inflate tool up and down the handle a bit, just to sort of beef it up a bit. So we'll increase the diameter, and then let's just do that bottom bit first. So we'll increase this a little bit, the umbo area, and make it a little bit thicker, and a bit more rounded, and then start building up this area of the lower part of the handle, and so I think, yes, just the front area and the side areas sort of need a bit, especially lower down, because I think it's a little bit too thin. It needs to be a bit thicker than that, really. And normally there'd be a bit of a curvature as well on that the handle, but we'll not worry about that right now. Might worry about that in future models. Okay, and then now we'll go to the flatten tool, just to sort of, I like the flatten tool very much, but you have to be a little bit careful, because it'll take too much stuff off if you're not careful. And so I've had a few issues with that before, where it's just taken too much stuff. But if you use the handle, if you use the flatten on a relatively low setting, and just very, very gently use it, especially in sort of straight areas like this, where you can kind of gauge how much you're pushing. It's actually very good in that and quite accurate. So you can use that to just straighten things out quite a bit. So I'm just going to take all these lumps and bumps off so that then I can use the smooth tool after to smooth it out finally. That's looking a lot better. And then I'm going to go to the smooth tool on dynamic topology, again because it reconstructs the mesh that I've damaged, and then use that to just smooth all the areas over. And you find this is a really good tool to use. I'll just smooth over this umbo area as well, and maybe that area is a little bit too thick now, so it's probably worth smoothing it a little bit. And then we'll just smooth over these side bits so it looks much more sort of uniform. So that's looking a lot better, and then just you can see that the it'll take off. It'll take a lot more off if you press harder. So it depends on what you've got your pressure settings on in the app. And so I've got it relatively low because I know sometimes I get a bit carried away and press a bit harder, and that'll just take a lot more stuff off if you're not careful. Anyway, I think we're sort of getting there now. Just a bit more smoothing all the way around so that it's looking a bit more uniform. We'll just smooth it a little bit more like that. Make these areas a bit more sort of, especially where the neck attaches to the head. We just want to just do that. I'll just use the flatten again a little bit. Just to take some of these lumps off. And then use a bit more of the inflate. Just to fill in, I think I've taken too much off in some of these areas. So just fill those in a little bit more. So your inflate is basically just add stuff, flatten, just basically remove stuff, and obviously the smooths everything out. You can use the clay, but I'm having some issues using that properly because it's sometimes it'll take a lot of clay off rather than just add it. So this is just using the flatten just to thin things down a bit because it looks a bit lumpy. I don't like it, but you can spend ages on this, going backwards and forwards, adding stuff, taking stuff away, but I think we'll just do a little bit more and have to stop. So just use the smooth again. Just to smooth those bits down again a little bit. And smooth actually works very well for removing stuff, with the dynamic topology on, that is. And that's smoothing it down very nicely there now. That's good. That's looking a lot better, much more civilized. As I said, the Malleus, normally the handle would have a bit more curvature to it, but we might do that in a future model. All right, so that's looking a lot better. That's good. I think so. We'll just examine the rest of it. Just check all the way around. And it looks okay. It's not too bad. Could do with maybe a bit more smoothing, but probably what's more important is just getting the shape a bit more right. I think it's a little bit too compressed. So we'll use the drag. You can use the drag or the move tools. So I'll increase the size of the radius of the thing, and then you can just pull things out a little bit. So we'll pull out that lateral process a little bit. Maybe that's a bit too much. We'll undo that, and then just pull a little bit of it out, together with the neck as well a little bit. And that's probably a bit more like the real thing. And then we'll pull the handle a little bit more, and maybe increase that curvature as well a little bit of the. But yeah, we just need to just make this a bit more symmetrical. That's better. So that's pretty good. And the other thing is, of course, we've got to make the articular surface for the incus as well. So on the back of the head, we need to have a bit of a dent put in where the incus is going to fit. So I'm just going to flatten this head a little bit so it just doesn't look so round. And pull this lateral process in a little bit so it's not sticking out quite so much. And pull the umbo down. Yeah, that's a bit better. And then I'm just going to just pull all this down a little bit. Now if we can, so that the dent for the incus will be on the back, but slightly off, depending on which side you're dealing with. So we'll just flatten that a little bit. Still using just the drag or the move tool, whichever. I think I'm using the move tool. And yeah, make it less obviously just rounded. I mean, if we just Yeah, I think that's a bit too flat, so we'll just push that a bit differently. There we go, that's a bit better. I think that angle's a bit better, actually. Okay, well, I think that's pretty close. Just do a bit more smoothing over the whole thing, including just smooth over the handle a bit, and then smooth over the head, and where we've done the little dent for the articular surface of the incus. So let's just smooth all this out. And then I think I just need to smooth this a bit more as well, yeah. That doesn't look quite right. Then I think we're there, pretty much. So we just need to colour it a bit. So we can just colour it whatever colour you want. I like shiny colours, so, sort of like a reddish gold will be all right, I think, in this case. And then just paint it with that. I mean, you can just press paint all, but I actually like the process of painting. So I sometimes just do the painting manually, as it were. And there you have it, the Malleus. So in the next one, we will go on and make the incus, which is the next one along. So this is the hammer, next one is the anvil. And so this took 23 minutes, which is actually, it's not bad, it's pretty quick. And there we have a couple of specimens, one I made before. Slightly different technique, but anyway. All right, see you next time. Take care, bye-bye.